without further ado, because we have a lot going on this week and I want to get to our interview, and I've been looking forward to this one all week. This driver just jumped into the Soda Late Models this season. He drives the number 27P, none other than Tucker Pederson. Tucker, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on tonight.
It's great to have you on. I know I've tried to get you on in the years past, especially last year, but last year was quite a hectic year. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, definitely. It was, racing 4 nights, sometimes even 5 nights a week was really hectic. So it was hard to find any time during the week when we weren't working on cars I don't know, it was just a constant grind.
Yeah, and I'm sure the grind has slowed down a little bit this year, although it's kind of a different level of grind this year.
Yeah, definitely. It's been kind of an adjustment going back to, 1 or 2 nights a week. One that I'm not really sure if I like or not yet, but yeah, I don't know. In a weird way, it still feels like we spend just as much time working on cars, but I mean, that's just kind of part of it, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like even when we lighten our schedules up a little bit, we still find things to work on and tinker on.
Well, exactly. And, switching to a new class, it's kind of learning how things work all over again. So everything that I kind of had in my head, I had to flush out of the way and start over. So it's been nice having my dad there to help me out, try to learn how to maneuver around these late models.
Absolutely. Well, for those tuning in, if you have a question for Tucker at any point during this interview, be sure to drop it in the comments below. Or if you just want to say hi, like Jeremy Bloom and Tim Kujawa, I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. Thank you guys for tuning in. So, Tucker, to kind of get things started, talk to us about how many years you've been behind the wheel of a race car.
Well, this will be, I think, year number 8 in a big car. And then if you're including go-karts and all of that, I would have started in 2010, so 14, right? Yeah. Yeah, my math is right. 14 years. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how long we've been in it. Started when we were little kids. Me and Kelsey started at the same time, and just kind of blossomed from there.
Well, and of course, you're coming off a big season in the Wissota Street Sox, top three in national points, which you already alluded to was a very big grind. And so, did you have it in your mind that you're going to transition to a late model pretty much coming into this year?
Yeah, that we talked about it some at the end of last year. Well, throughout the entire year actually, and there was some pretty big decisions and some other stuff going on too, just family stuff. So, I knew that I most likely wouldn't be able to run for national points again in the street stock, and I felt like I had achieved everything else I wanted to besides getting a national title. So, it was either, kind of try be content, just, having fun again, kind of like we are this year, racing a couple nights a week, or move classes and take on a new challenge, which I just felt like that's what was needed out of the two options I had. So, yeah, that's what we decided on, and it's definitely been an adjustment. Everything that I knew for driving a street stock, I had to throw out of my mind for a late model. They're so different, but yeah, it's been kind of a rough adjustment, but we've had our good times and bad times, so I guess we just have to take it for what it is.
Well, at least you kind of get used to working on fenders. So, I mean, that's
Yeah,
I guess one
yeah,
similarity between the two.
yeah. Not having door bars anymore. That's kind of a different thing. These cars sit out a lot wider, so a lot more crunch room if you rub into people.
Well, of course, you make your home around Grand Forks, and so you race River City Speedway every week, and so there's no shortage of competition there. I mean, you have so many drivers that you've probably watched since you were very young, like Brad Singh, Dustin Stranding. So,
hmm
what is it like to get to race against those guys every single week?
It's really cool, and the nights that we can be competitive with them, that's even cooler. Honestly, if you would have asked me, 10 years ago that I'd be in a late model today, I would not have seen that coming. So, it's just really cool and to race against those guys and especially to race against my dad and just family. I mean, it's something that brings us all together. And, with those other guys, it's a family away from home. So it's like a second family. So it's just really cool to be able to race up against all those guys.
Well, of course, you mentioned your dad, who is obviously a big help to your racing program. But of course, when you're getting races underneath your belt with Soto Late Model, do the other drivers are they pretty helpful with feedback and kind of helping you point in the right direction?
Yeah, we've had our fair share of struggles this year with that car. So, Brad Sang has been pretty helpful. Shane Edgington, just a few of the guys with MBs out there, trying to help steer us in the right direction. Um, so yeah, they've been very helpful. Of course, a lot of it still comes from my dad. I'm trying to kind of pick up the slack here and there, but um, just trying to learn. I mean, there's just so much more adjustment to these cars than I ever knew of in the street stock. So, learning to instead of just changing two things and that was kind of it in the street stock, now we're changing like five things and hoping it works. So, yeah, it's been really good.
Well, Jeremy over from Wisconsin has a question for you. I'm going to kind of word it a little differently. He's asking how many
Okay.
hard chargers that you've gotten this year in the late models. So, kind of talk about like maybe some of the best runs you've had throughout the year.
Yeah, for hard chargers, I don't maybe two or three, I think. We had one when we went out to Winnipeg. I think I got hard charger that night, and I think I got hard charger in Grand Forks one night too. But yeah, we've had several pretty good runs this year. Got one win in Devil's Lake. That was really cool. Um, Other than that, I think we have a few top fives, several top tens. It's just been kind of a battle because it seems like every time we go out of town, it goes really well. The car really likes it. The tracks are usually a little more slick, but the one track we race weekly is River Cities, and it's been a struggle bus there. So just getting that thing to turn and to handle the way that I want it and to have it fit my driving style has been kind of a struggle. But after a full year of messing around, I feel like we're kind of starting to figure it out now. So that helps.
Well, it sounds like a lot of drivers, when they have their home track, that's usually the one that they kind of have the most trouble with, or for some reason they just can't crack the code on the home track. Is it like pressure or anything like that, or just kind of just hasn't quite worked out yet?
Yeah, it's not pressure because, I don't feel any more anxiety going into River Cities versus any other track other than knowing the car's not going to handle right. So, um, yeah, it's not really a pressure thing. I just think River Cities is unlike any other track. I feel like a lot of people will say this. It's unlike any other track most people have raced at. It's so physically demanding, and if you don't have in my opinion, you don't have your setups just perfect or a well balanced car that is a little bit forgiving. It's really hard to be fast around that track. So that's really all we've been trying to do is find a setup that works for there. The baseline that we have from MB works great at every other track, but I don't know. It seems like we struggle at River Cities.
River Cities is definitely a different animal, and of course, we have a big weekend coming up, which I'll
Mhm.
ask you about here in just a minute. But want to say hi to Lindsey Hansen tuning in, fellow Whistle Late Model Racer. So I'm sure you've raced side by side with him a little bit already.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Nick Curtis saying, "Sup, Tucker? Can't wait to see you race at the sites this weekend."
Yeah, I know he'll be there to help us unload the cars and stuff. So.
Yeah, and we were kind of talking a little bit beforehand because the big weekend for late models, 9,200 to win John Sites Memorial, and so this will be your first go in the late model of
Mhm.
this race. But you managed to win the Sites Memorial in the street stock, and I know that was a big one to mark off your bucket list.
Mhm. Yeah, that was really cool. That year we had won a few specials in the straight stock that were really big. And yeah, going into this weekend, I feel like we're definitely considered an underdog, especially at River Cities. So, it'll be really cool if we can even make the feature. That in itself is going to be a task. I don't know how many cars they're projecting to have there, but I'm sure it's more than ever before. So, just with increased, late model car counts and everything lately. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be really cool if we can make the feature, and then, if we're lucky enough and everything seems to go our way, um, then we'll have our next battle of, try not to get lapped that first half and have a car that's there at the end, and hopefully it slicks off and it'll favor my driving style in the car, hopefully.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there's been a lot of late models, especially around this area, that have kind of cropped up, and you guys have all been really competitive. So it's going to be a really, really stacked field, and the weather is really looking nice. So that
Hmm.
should bring out even more people.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's the most competitive it's ever been. Even if you look back 10 years, I mean, there's still those same hard hitters, but just multiply that times like 100, it seems like. It seems like each night you could have a different winner. So, yeah, especially having everyone collected for Sites Memorial, winning all that money. It's going to be a tough feat, but hopefully with the draws can go our way, and I think it's going to be passing points. I think that's what it usually is. So, hopefully we can just have a car that's maneuverable, and we'll just see what we can do.
Well, Jeremy's got another question for you, and I assume you've raced against this driver, but he's wondering if you'd ever show Parker Anderson how to wheel a Wissota late model.
um, yeah, I mean, if he wanted to try, he's already wheeling that mod pretty good, so I don't feel like he would struggle to. Um, I don't think he'd struggle at all to convert down to or up to a late model, but yeah, I don't know. He was one of the best in the street stock, so I'm sure that he'd be just fine in a late model.
I would think so too. I think Parker can pretty much wheel anything that he wants.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you mentioned too, like on setup wise, that you have to change a whole bunch of things like on the late model. So is it because I think I've talked with a couple of drivers that they say if you're off a little bit in the late model, you really notice it. Like even if it's just a small amount.
Yeah, totally. I mean, especially in this car, I feel it's just really finicky sometimes versus, me and dad switched one time for hot laps and I hopped in his and I honestly didn't even want to go back. I loved it. But yeah, when you're off on setup, you can feel it crazy. I mean, you could have one of the best drivers in a car that's not handling well and you'd still see them struggling. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a lot more to it in the late model.
Yeah, that makes it kind of just even harder, especially when it comes to a big race like the Sites weekend and trying to
Hmm.
make sure you nail the setup right out of the gate. Well,
Yeah.
at least with the weekend, you kind of have that NLRA finale to kind of get an idea going into Friday and Saturday and what it's going to be like.
Yeah, hopefully we can, we were talking this week and I think it's kind of our last ditch effort. We're going to try some different stuff with the car this weekend that we haven't quite dared to do this year. So hopefully we can find that magical touch at the very end of the year and have the car that handles the best there. But, we'll just have to see. Just give it our all and keep trying stuff until we're happy with it.
Of course, River Cities is your home track. Which other tracks did you kind of race or focus on throughout the year for your rookie season?
Well, this year we went to River Cities, went to Winnipeg, Victory Lane Speedway. We went up to Morden once. Um, let's see, Devil's Lake, and I think we also went to Buffalo River this year. We were going to go up to Fargo, for the Howie Shill Memorial, but rain ended up canceling that, along with I feel like rain's won a lot of races this year. So,
You don't have to
but
remind
yeah,
me on
so
that.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, a lot less traveling the last year, but we're kind of trying to hit everything that's in our area, where the NLRA goes, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and like of course you're deep in schooling right now, which is kind of like factored into like you racing a limited schedule this year. So has it been stressful kind of balancing school and racing this year?
Yeah, especially well, yes and no. It has its hard times, but yeah, I don't know. It's really hard during the special season when you're running, 2, 3 night weekends and you're gone and it's Thursday, Friday, stuff like that. So, that can get kind of difficult, but for the most part, it's not too bad. It's just kind of around this time where all the specials are happening and you just have to find a way to manage it all.
I'm the same way. So like I try to save up my vacation time basically for this part of the year because I know it gets
Mhm.
a little bit extra stressful and the nights get a little bit later. So
Yeah.
thankfully I am in a position where I have to use the vacation time or I lose it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
hey,
Well, hey, that helps.
this is a perfect excuse to use some of the vacation time.
Hmm.
Want to say hi to Patricia Jane. She's asking, what is your favorite racing memory or experience this year so far?
Oh, I'd probably have to say the night I won in Devil's Lake. That was really special. Especially with losing mom this year. Just having all of that support there. I mean, you can see in that victory lane photo, it's all of our extended family and friends that we're the closest to, and just having all that support and knowing that she was watching over us was really special.
I was just gonna ask you, like, cause that victory lane photo, like, there was a lot of people in that, so that's really cool that you have a great support system. And then of course I have one of the Jimmy
Hmm.
Strong shirts, and all like 5, 6 drivers on here, so you got a
Yeah,
really good support system at the track.
yeah, and it was really cool, having Trey and Josh and Blake Anderson and Cole Babcock and just having everyone putting Julie Strong on their cars. It was really cool and a nice just a nice touch. Really felt really supported by all of that, and I know that she'd be smiling down at all of us.
Definitely, definitely. It was. It's definitely really cool seeing tributes that drivers put on to help support a fellow racer, and so that's really been cool to see this year. And excited to see all of them up close once again for this upcoming weekend. And speaking of support system, while we got a second, I want to give you an opportunity to list off any other sponsors or crew that helps you out.
Yeah, I gotta thank Levi Babcock Construction, Hope Church, North Dakota Eye Clinic, Southline Farms, Ad Monkeys, Amy Dolan Photography, Envision Ag, Proland Snow, R&R Farms, Eagles Dakota, Turf Pros, Hilleshog, Dahlstrom Motors, Bad Boy Mowers, Mark Sin, Phil Thompson and Associates, Wicked Wraps, Race Bodies and Fabrication, Lloyd's Lawn Care, Energy Release, Race Products, Pit Light Solutions, and just of course my family, my dad, Kelsey, Cole, my girlfriend Grace, my grandma, just everybody who supports me in, week out, and um, yeah,
Excellent. It's a lot of people
yeah,
on your
yeah.
team.
Got to make a note of it so we don't forget any of them.
Right, and of course you like race with your dad. Kelsey also races a lightning sprint, so I'm sure shop time's really busy. Do you mainly focus on working on your car, or do you kind of help your dad and Kelsey out too?
I feel like, well, me and dad work a lot together. He helps me on the things I need help with, and I lend a hand on the stuff that he needs help with too. Kelsey living in Fargo, it's kind of hard because she's usually not here until the weekend. So, if she wrecks a bunch of stuff, it's kind of left up to me and dad and Cole and her to fix. But when it's during the week stuff, it's kind of just me and dad. So hers usually kind of gets pushed off to the weekend a little bit to where she can help us out some more. But yeah, so mostly just mine and dad's car, and then when Kelsey's home on the weekend, all three of us or all four of us will go out there and try to finish that thing quick.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm sure some shop nights are pretty hectic, but hopefully mostly it's just maintenance from the
It,
weekly basis.
yeah, it definitely depends. Like I said, with me being new to the late models, I feel like everything takes me 10 times longer than it should when I'm working on them, but I mean that's just part of learning. So, yeah, with dad rolling was that 2 weeks ago now. That was a really long week. But we've had weeks that have been, fairly short, not much maintenance. You almost just have to unload the car and wash it. And then we've had weeks where me and dad are in the shop till 2 or 3 in the morning every single night. So, um, yeah, like I said, it's kind of weird. We arguably are spending more time working on stuff in the shop this year than I did last year running for points. But I mean, that's just how it is, I guess, when you're trying to figure out stuff on a car to get it handled better. I feel like we spent a lot of time on mine, just R&Ding stuff and making the phone calls down to MB and just trying to use all the resources we can to get that thing as fast as we can.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, like, do you have any? Do you race your dad differently, knowing that you kind of have to work on his car off the track as well, or do you kind of just it's just another car out there?
Um, yeah, I feel like I'm a much more timid driver, just in general. So if you ask anyone, I mean, I certainly don't want to have to work on torn up stuff during the week. So, when it comes to anybody, I really try to keep my nose clean. But there's been a few times where, I won't call it cheap moves, but I've been next to him and I haven't exactly been thrilled either. So, um, we have times where we kind of butt heads, but for the most part, we're pretty good.
That comes with racing. That'll happen.
Yeah, it's just life. We knew going into this year with me, Dad, and Cole all racing in the same class. Like Kelsey was just a nervous wreck going into the first night. She just didn't even want to watch it. But it's honestly for the most part been really good.
Well, that's good. I mean, could be racing side by side, hopefully for years to come. So,
Yep.
Jeremy's asking, do you have a favorite food at the racetrack?
Favorite food. Oh, that's tough. If I just picked river cities, I'd probably say they're taco buckets. I feel like that's a lot of people's answer. I mean, you just get so much food for what you pay for, so it's kind of hard to complain.
I would agree with that. I don't get it often. I've gotten it once, and I was like, dang. I'm like, I needed like two
hmm
or three like different like sittings to get all that finished.
Yeah, yeah, I've gotten those ever since I was just a little kid, watching my dad in the stands. Me, my sister, and my mom would get them, and we'd actually all just share it because there was so much food. So we'd make it work.
Yeah. So Jeremy or any other fans that are coming to River Cities for the first time, definitely would recommend the Taco Bucket.
hmm
They got all sorts of great food there too. So, as far as plans go for the rest of the year, obviously Sites Weekend coming up, what does it look like heading into the off season, or are you kind of tapering it off from here?
Yeah, we're honestly still not super sure. I guess we'll just have to see how the sites goes, see if we tear up anything and if we have time to fix it if we do. And we'll look at Kelsey's schedule. I think she's supposed to race a couple more times before the year ends. I think it's once or twice in River Cities and I think the Sunday actually after the sites she might be racing in Buffalo River. So yeah, so we'll just have to see how everything goes. I mean, we kind of talked about the Stampede and the 100, and one thing that I'd really like to go back to is the topless and Ogilvy again. That was really fun to do last year. So yeah, we'll just have to see. We'll see what school looks like. We'll see what work looks like, and just see what we can do. With it being beat season too, that makes it really tough. So we have 4 trucks, so trying to keep people in all of those is a struggle in itself. So we'll just have to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, when you think about it, with like schools starting up for a lot of people, farming is pretty big, and we got all these year-end specials. It's just a great time of year.
Yeah, everything crammed at once. Yeah.
It's no wonder where we go and hibernate after like 2 or 3 months afterwards and just don't want to do anything.
Yeah, yeah, we need our couple months of relaxation and then we can get back to it.
Jeremy's saying you should come try the Punky Matter down at Red Cedar Speedway. Have you been to any of those tracks over in Wisconsin? Besides Rice
We
Lake, obviously.
Yeah, we went to Rice Lake last year. No, we have not. I really want to go to Cedar Lake at some point, hopefully next year if we can. It's just hard when it's all on conflicting days because, if River Cities is racing on a Friday, why would we drive however many hours to go race somewhere else? You know what I mean? So, as far as the Punky Manor thing, I don't what dates, what weekend is that? Is
That
that
would be the weekend.
conflicting or?
I think it's the weekend after this. It's either the same weekend as the Jamestown Stampede or the week after. I want to say it's the same weekend
Okay.
as the Stampede.
Yeah, no, I'm not opposed to doing traveling. Honestly, this year's kind of felt a little off without driving everywhere 4 nights a week. So, like I said, if we can make it work with school and work, I mean, I'd be good with going anywhere. It's just trying to make it all work.
Yeah, I will admit, like, there's been many times where I've drove past many tracks on the way to another track, and I'm just like,
hmm
my mind is just in the wrong place. But it's like, what the heck? We're going to a racetrack.
Well,
That's all that matters.
yeah, I mean, it's even like last year, us all, me, Braden Brower and Vogel all driving all the way out to Montana at the end of the year. Like, from a financial standpoint, made no sense at all, but we were all running for points and it just was what it was. So, yeah, it's just stuff like that it's kind of weird, but it's what makes memories. So,
Yeah, I mean that was a really cool way to end the national point season when you guys all went over to Big Sky. That was really fun to see.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a different track. Those streeters sure get hauling around there. So, yeah, it's stuff like that. I wish that we could travel more in the late model. And, last year it was probably the closest I'll ever get to feeling like I'm racing professionally almost. You know what I mean? Just traveling all the time and having fun. I mean, what person doesn't have that dream that's a racer? You know what I mean? So, hopefully in the future we can do some more traveling and just see where it brings us.
Well, I guess for my last question, and it's a nice transition. What would be now that you're in a late model? What would be one track you want to race in the late model?
Um, well, I feel like this is a very stereotypical answer, but probably the dome. But I wouldn't want to bring mine because it's probably guaranteed to be wrecked. But that would be a real fun bucket list track. Would be at be to race at the Dome. Otherwise, I think just something like Cedar Lake or something like that would be really fun just to do a little bit of traveling there. But yeah, if it's like a bucket list track, probably the Dome or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I've never been to the Dome race before. I've heard it's a spectacle, but yeah, I wouldn't go there banking on your car coming back in one piece.
Yeah, I think that's one of those deals where you find an old one laying in the bushes somewhere and put some tires on it and see how she goes. One that you don't care if it gets wrecked.
Well, just don't tell your dad. Just kind of like sneak his into your trailer and then take that with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Or Coles. We'll do Coles probably.
Cole would probably volunteer to do it, so we'll just have to see. I think he actually signed up for it, so
Oh,
we'll see if he ends up getting in. I heard that the registration like shut down immediately after they opened it up. So yeah, I don't know. That could be on Cole's bucket list too.
will be interesting to see once the time comes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Tucker. I know you got a busy schedule, so thank you for spending some time getting to know you a little bit, and excited to see you this upcoming weekend as well.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on and yeah, we'll see you this upcoming weekend.
Sounds good. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Be sure to stay up to date on the page, and Tucker's happenings over at Pederson Racing on Facebook is where you can follow him and Kelsey and Joey. So, thank you everyone, and we'll see you on the next one. Alrighty, I think
All
now we
good?
are off.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you as always.
Yeah, of course. So I guess we'll see you tomorrow then.
Yep,
Is that
see
the
you tomorrow.
plan?
Get some good rest.
Yeah, yeah, we'll try it. I think I get done with class at like 4 o'clock, so get done with that and then rush over to the track and try to get some stuff ready.
It's about the time I leave work or I'm trying to leave work tomorrow at 4, so we'll see how close I can get.
Yeah. Yep. Well, all right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.